Hello everyone. This is first of all a happy new year and welcome to the special series of Youth Week. And this time we're going to talk about something that is, there are five topics we are going to talk about in sequence. And the first topic today is going to be education because youth, you can't empower youth without education, and education is essential in many ways. That's not just about reading, writing, or in a very basic sense. It has much a multi-dimensional, uh, you know, mm, aspect, and you can't just signify, focus on whether a person is literate or that's not enough. You have to have holistic approach to education. And to talk about this in the first episode today, we are going to talk stress on education. Therefore, and to talk about it, it's not just our co-host Lakveet Kaur. We have two special guests, and one is Miss Alekhya Ms. She is pursuing her MA education from University of Hyderabad, and the other guest is Miss Sravani. She is graduated from University of Hyderabad, but she's focusing her as her postgraduate work and everything on education sector. So welcome to you, everyone. It's a pleasure to have you on the first episode, and
Thank you. Thank you so much.
we'd just like you to
Thank
give us
you.
introduction of yourself in the sense what do you think about education. You can just give in your perspective on how education is a very important aspect in overall system of human development and all these aspects. So what are your thoughts? You can Alekia with you first and then Sravani. Over to you.
Okay. First of all, thank you so much. It feels really good to be a part of CD Bath. And hello, Shravani. Thank you for joining us.
Thank
And coming to the question that you had asked, education. I think it's a very vital part of the people whom we become ultimately. And there's a quote saying that education is life itself. So it's not just about the part that an individual spends formally in a school, but I think it's the lifelong learning that goes on. And for I see education like that. Not just the informal part of it, even at the informal part of it, I take it count as an education. And I think that's very important to learn things beyond the given syllabus, though we are today talking only about the formal part of education. So that's how I view education as it's lifelong learning.
I think Sravani, you can drop in your comments.
yeah. So thank you so much for having me on City Bus, first of all. And I would totally agree with Alegya. When we talk about education, it's not just the academic education we are looking into. It's not just academics. There is a perspective of people, a set of people have this education is academic education. So, how many degrees do you have? From what institute do you have studied, or whatever? Education is not that. It's everything you do till you wake up and till the time you go to bed. It's every minute detail you do, the new things you learn. So, education should be like a synonym for learning, is what I feel. So it's just learning. You learn something, and then it defines who you are, as Alekia said. So education is not just academic related thing. It's the overall holistic development of a human being.
Amazing. I mean, that was a wonderful view about education, and really proud to see that young people take education like this. They are not considering things to be just related to your college, what degree you have done, how many marks did you get in it, what's your grade, because that's like just the upper part of education, I think. And we tend to distinguish and categorize people based on those labels, which university, how many marks, which course, but it has like a wider perspective attached to it. Thank you so much, Alekhya and Sravani, for joining us. Hi, everyone. But today, Pavan started off the show, so I didn't get a chance to say hi to everybody. Thanks a lot for joining in, and excuse me for my voice today. Since Alekhya and Shravani, both of them are working in the education sector, that's why we have got them to talk about education today in this particular episode. It's not like random people coming and speaking. It's something very, very close to them. They are working in this field, and that's why I think they can give us very good insights about it. We will go into the technical part about it, but initially, I would like to know from both of you your views, Shravani and Alekhya, as to youth perceives education to be something very different, from what you said. A lot of people perceive education to be just a medium of getting certain certificates, making a resume, and eventually landing up into a job employment, which is the topic for tomorrow, right? I want to know
Hmm.
from you how education plays a major role in career development, one, but side by side, how should a person choose the right field for himself? Like you said, there are certain distinct categorizations made, like this university is very good for particular thing and you should only go to this university, otherwise it won't matter. So students like me and Pavan, we ourselves have studied in very normal universities, which probably are not like the universities for the courses that we are doing, but I think we have had a very good experience while doing that. So how important is this labeling and tags, whatever is put on different things in education, one, and how is education actually responsible for career development, and how to choose the right field, people who are confused what to take up, why to take up? So your views on this and how you would like to address this issue. We'll again go in the same order. Alekhya first and then Shravani next.
Okay. Okay. So in my view, coming to the coming to the career development, what I believe is it is very early on. Children should be told in a very. Can you hear disturbance from my side? Uh, okay. Okay. My voice is clear, right? The disturbance
Yes.
is, yeah. All right. So coming forward, so I think at a very young age, uh, children should be told in a very good way. Generally, we see our parents scold us that you should have a goal, you should have a career. That creates, I feel that creates a negative impression on career development. And that so that should be removed. I'm really distracted by the voice, don't mind, okay? So that should go away. Teachers or parents should tell them in a very very nice way, so that they actually focus on their interests, what their interests are. I think at least from grade 7th or 8th they should focus and observe what their interests are, what they are drawn to, whether they want to go into a particular sector, what activities they are interested in, whether it is in academia or in extracurriculars. How do they see themselves is what they should be, they should be realized, they should be made realize that you are supposed to see yourself like that. That happens in India. I've seen that happens very late, very later on in lives, when students hit their maybe second year of graduation or something like that, which is really sad. And once that realization is done, I feel uh, planning of the career should always be reverse in order. That means you set up a certain goal, like for say, let's say I want to be a teacher. So in order to, so that is my goal. So now from there I have to uh, draw a backward plan, like if I want to be a teacher, what are the courses I need to do? If I do need to do the courses, what are the universities available? If I need to get into those universities or colleges, what exams I need to be, I have to give. If I have to give those exams, what are the skills that I have to develop within me? So that's how the planning should be very from in a reversal order is what I feel, which nobody tells. So that's my take on career development.
Okay, Miss Shravani, you would like to go
Okay.
next?
See, yeah. So here I would say I would vary a little with Alekia, because it's always, see, okay, it's well and good if they have a goal for themselves. Okay, I want to be a teacher or I want to be a doctor. But in this very rapidly growing society or environment in which we are living, and every other day you have a new goal nowadays. So how do you track back that? So
So true.
having the focus is okay, good, well and good. That is, and lot of information is also available for people who already attach themselves to a particular goal. But
Hmm.
problem arises to those who don't know what they want to do in life.
Hmm.
So
Absolutely.
they lose the motivation to study. They lose the motivation to do anything. I feel those are the critical areas which we have to talk about
Hmm.
majorly.
Hmm.
So now, what do you do when you don't know actually what you want to do in life or in general? So
Hmm.
what do? You feel confused. Mostly people feel confused. It's like the herd. Okay, he's doing that. My friend is doing this. I'll also just try
Right.
and get a shot at it. And okay, this feels glamorous. Okay, let me try and get and do that. So what happens? They don't have a plan as well due to the lack of vision, obviously. So in that scenarios, what I would suggest, or rather, I would say, through my experience, that I did experience this for myself. So
Hmm.
what I did is I started taking what is the next best thing I can do for myself. So you have certain goals for your life, not only monetary goals as such. How do you want to lead your life and things like that? So I have seen, I have laid out all my opportunities in front of me, whatever it is there, and I'm just making a decision. Okay, what is the best opportunity that chooses me right now? Think about now. That's okay. You need not have a 10-year plan for the next 10 years or 5 years. It's okay. Don't be in that stress that, oh, I did not figure out what I want to do. I did not figure out what I want to do. That's okay. You need not figure out everything at a go. If you did have a vision, that's well and good. That's great, but that's not the case for everybody. So as you asked in the question itself, you are not studying in the universities, but still you have the experience. So that is what important. Experiences are what makes the whole lot of difference. So
Hmm.
focus on those experiences, not
Hmm.
just your academics and in universities and courses, degrees. Those are all secondary things, is what I feel. uh, an illiterate with much better experience, I will hire. If I want to hire somebody for myself, I would hire somebody with total experience and skill set. If he or she has them, I would
Hmm.
definitely choose over a person who is from IIT or IIM.
Great. I think both of them, the insights that they gave, they are very good in different phases. So if you are having a clarity, if suppose you're very passionate about something from the beginning and you check out the practicality of the passion that you have, which we stress upon in almost all the episodes, that your passion again, it should be practically possible to make it your profession. Otherwise, don't go mad. So if that is there, then I think Alekhya's standpoint is very good, very right, that you need to have that cycle. You need to know your goal first and then you need to move towards your goal. In other cases, which unfortunately is the current situation of our country and many other countries, is that youth is confused. So where Alekhya showed a contrast for youth who is clear, a little clear from the childhood itself, not because their parents told them that clarity, but they have that clarity from within. Great, good to go. Otherwise, if you're confused, if you're in our circle who are like kind of juggling between different goals and they don't know what to do, they are stressed about it, they are feeling bad, they are feeling guilty. And there are some people actually who are like very very intelligent guys, like really very intelligent, really really very very energetic, want to do something, have clear goals about actually making a change, but still don't know what road to choose. In that case, Ravni's suggestion would work, right? That you need to jot down, if you have multiple goals, jot them down and see what is practically possible right now, what is practically possible in general, looking at your social situation, economic situation, your family situation, and whatever goes behind the background for you. So that's what is, I think, a perfect mix of opinions. Both of them have given a wonderful input for everybody who's watching this show right now, both who are clear and the ones who are not as clear about what to do. And I think we are going to get a lot of more insights from them. Pavan, if you would like to
Yeah,
take up.
so I think that's a balanced point, balanced argument both have given in the sense, as you rightly put, it appear it matters. It depends on where the person is. If it's
Yes.
if it's still in his teenage, Alekya's point would work, and at a later stage, it would be subjective. So given that, we'll move on from here. So now the question I have is, well, if we let's take a reality check. What is the situation or the status of education sector in India, and how good is the present system effective in reaching out to everybody? We are sure there's going to be it's not a direct, what do you call it? There's no clear identification as to whether education is actually reaching everybody in the society, or is it still having a there's a very big inequality in terms of access to education. I think everybody would agree with this point. So if that is the case, I think if we'll start off with that. If there is inequality in access to education, how big is the inequality, and what are the concern areas, and we'll move on to that. So Alekhya, you can put in your thoughts about what is your reading of the status, or of the situation in India so far. Unmute
Alekia,
yourself.
please unmute yourself.
Yeah. So you can hear me, right?
Yes.
So yeah, according to me, I think I would say that we have come a very long way in terms of gross enrollment ratio into the education institutions. But there is a lot of there's a lot of parity between the people who have access to education and who do not have. And the question arises is, yes, we can say that maybe 70 to 80% of people are getting education, but what kind of education are they getting is the question. Okay, there is a strata of people who are who still don't have the access, or who drop out, who choose to step back because of several conditions that they face in their lives. So taking them into consideration, that is one section of people. And the people who are into this system of education, what kind of education the point is to get equilateral or equitable education to everybody. Is that happening? I don't think so. So that is where I think we have to focus. And I think the government's initiative to put forth NEP is great step to bridge that gap, because that goes with one syllabus, nationalized syllabus. So I think that is very, very needed and important.
100%. Okay, Swapni?
Okay, so for this, what is the current scenario? I would say, actually, I would like to share my own experience. A couple of months ago, I did a research on the current education scenario alongside with a private organization. So I have spoken to around 100 to 120 people coming from different backgrounds, like parents, students, college students, graduates who are looking for job, and working professionals. So
Right.
three categories would be, I believe, they come under youth. So I've personally interacted with them. So there is a major gap actually, and NEP is definitely trying to fill that gap. But there are also many setbacks what NEP has did in their checklist. So, but these setbacks would know once the system is got introduced into the society, then they will know that okay, there is a setback. Now, what do we do? So it happens like that. But I feel on in general, on an overall perspective, definitely NEP is going to bridge the gaps.
Right. Okay, so both of you have like, I'm very happy, Pawan. They do have very vivid observations. It's not like the general observations that we have. To be very honest, I mean, this is the difference between somebody who is working in a field and somebody who's just an observer from outside, just seeing what is happening. Because normally when we talk about education on an episode, Sravani and Alekhya, there have been certain guests who have come up and talked about the situation of education worldwide, in fact. So what we notice as individuals from outside is that there is a gap between what the world needs. That is why we have segmented the episodes like education and then employment, because then ultimately whoever is studying right now, I'm very sure at the end of the day they want to become independent, right? They want to pursue some career, they want to get a job. I mean, there could be some, of course, I'm saying majority, but then of course there could be some who just want to study because they like to study, but then obviously there's always some goal behind investing this much of time, energy, capital behind whatever you're doing, right? But the unfortunate part of this is that what the industry needs or what the world needs out of employees, that is not provided. Or maybe let's say there's a difference between what we are taught and what we are supposed to do as professionals, right? There's a clear gap in that, and we observe that that is why most of the people get this realization struck them when they are in second year, like Stravani said, or when they are in their, in fact I would say when they are in near to their placement semester, is when the realization just dawns upon them and suddenly realize that, oh my god, what was I even doing? Because that is not what they're going to ask me in the placement drive or in the recruitment drive, and that is what they don't that is not something they expect out of me when I work in their company. So clearly there is a gap, although we have come way far. Another point which Alekhya raised, and I really agree with that, is the situation of education being provided to everybody more than what quality of education is provided. The first point is that, is it even being provided to everybody in the first place? And there are so many who don't have access to education, and then there are so many who have access to education but not the right education. And then all of this just somehow, makes us all question everything, every development that has been happening in education, right? And it also indicates that we have to be more self dependent in this particular aspect, that we start working. That's why skill development and all of this came into picture when we started observing that, okay, maybe there's a gap, and we cannot always rely on the government or on certain bodies to bridge that gap. Sometimes we have to take a step forward, right? Pavan, your views on this?
That actually makes me highlight a point. So we have private universities, you have private public universities, you have public schools and private schools. At all
Hmm.
levels, you have a clear distinction where the public sector is having a certain amount of universities providing a much wider scope, like University of Hyderabad, for instance. You have a much, or Punjabi University, whatever you could take it. State universities have a certain structures laid out for those who are at the lowest strata of lower income strata. That being the case with private universities, there is some sort of a restriction placed. So it's not that everybody gets this access. So that gap is something we also have to focus on in terms of when we start going out, in the sense when we are talking about education in the sense, this gap that has to be not just focused on, has to be narrowed down, because even private universities are actually developing you're getting good standards in private universities. So that has to at least reach public universities at the
Right.
same time, and or either way around. That gap is something we have to be very wary of, because if the gap is widespread, in the sense, let's take an example. Those who are studying in private universities would have a certain amount of exposure to all sorts of projects, assignments. I'm speaking it from experience. So
And
that being
technology.
the case, in public universities, you don't have the same amount of rigorous work. Sometimes it might vary from subject to subject, but then still you have a certain amount of exposure in private university. The question now I would like to ask is, how do you bridge the gap if you want to do that?
Okay, so to bridge the gap, basically, everybody after the 12th class, because we are talking about the youth, the late teens and the early youth, they all give exams for government universities. Firstly, that is IITs, if you talk about a technical education, or CLAT, or exams for B.Ed, or even for basic sciences or liberal arts courses. Everybody gives exams for government universities, and then they go to private universities. So why does that happen? One, the government universities have their own standard when it comes to higher education. Okay, maybe the school education part we still need to improve, but higher education, I think it's doing pretty good. And the fees structure is very less. This, I feel, this is where the money aspect, the financial aspect, comes into play. The private universities take a lot of money, and they have a concept called management seats, which wherein, without writing an exam, I'm talking specifically about Hyderabad, as an example, wherein we see most of engineering colleges, and they take up students, not through they take up students through MSET and also their private exams, but there is some section called management seats, wherein, you don't have to give an exam, you don't have to give an interview, you just pay a certain amount of donation that they call, and then you can join in. I think that should be dropped first. And the second thing that should be done by all the universities and colleges is give equal share or percentage of enrollment percentage. Like, we see that top universities like Delhi University, or yeah, mostly universities that are in Delhi's, which so many people aspire to be there, they have a cutoff of 99 and 98. And people who are getting 97 are not dumb. They're not it doesn't make them low on IQ or something, or low on ability. It just makes them feel very bad because they couldn't hit that percentage. So I would like to see a segregation where you give certain percentages, 100 to 90, then 80 to 60, 60 to 70. And if that, in that sense, you will not just have the cream layer. This should be done by every college, is what I feel.
Very
Drop
true.
drop the management seat thing by uh, private universities, and give an equal share. And coming to the reservations, I think uh, reservation somewhere is ingraining. I'm not against reservation, I understand the concept of reservation, but when it comes to reservation, I think the caste and the religion based reservation needs to go. And instead of that, let's have a reservation wherein socially backward people are included. Second thing, low income people are included, and let there be a section for people who are first generation learners. That needs to come in,
Wow.
because there are people of the so-called backward caste that are existing right now, but they are not first generation learners. They have all the facilities. I
Exactly.
think
Exactly.
this needs to be sort of implemented. And so yeah, if these things come into play, I think the gap can be bridged.
I think, when they say that, truth sometimes hits very hard and it's a little bitter, that's what it is. I mean, the 3 points highlighted by Alekhya, it's wow, Alekhya, well done, well done. All these 3 points are something which somehow, at some point, all of us students have felt, but we never
Yeah.
could voice that out. Unfortunately, we could never voice it out. I mean, these aspirations, you remember how in our school times they would make this A section of students who have very good percentages, and then
Mm.
B, C, and then a D section where all hopeless students, according to them, hopeless, would be kept.
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
is this distribution? I mean, if you keep all the bright students together, and their explanation for that is that, if we keep bright students with dull students, they'll become dull. Wow. I mean, have you ever studied about conduction, convention, how energy flows and how water flows from high to low and low to high? What is wrong? I mean, that is what I have been seeing, and that happens in Delhi schools. That happens in I've studied in schools from most states in India, and that happens in the most fabulous metropolitan states and in the smallest towns as well, which I think
Mm.
is really unexplanatory, because how do you create that disparity, and how do you call one section as hopeless and one section as hopeful? That's very
Yeah.
wrong, guys. Because we have to understand that not all the five fingers are equal. Similarly, not
Mm.
all the kids are very bright in studies, but they are all capable of doing at least something. And for
Yeah.
doing something, at the first place, according to India's culture, they have to be literate, they have to study, they have to be into good colleges, they have to have a degree, right? I have personally seen during my engineering, we, the 95%, the 9.5 CGPA holders, blah, 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 were not as capable as those who had 8 CGPA, but they were practically very sound. They were
Mm.
actually engineers who could actually mend machines, who could create projects. That is what an engineer does. An engineer is
Yeah.
not just one who clears examination with a great percentage. And I'm confessing that online on YouTube today. There were more capable children, students than me, but I would be called a better engineer and not them. Why? Why? Why this disparity? I think all these points highlighted by Alekhya and the solutions that she gave side by side, they are wonderful. They should be taken into consideration and they need to be worked upon. Very, very important aspect. Very important. Alekhya, well done. Sravani, what's your take on this if you would like to know? And what is this music? Somebody's phone is ringing, I suppose.
Yeah, that's a
It's
cab.
It's okay. Okay.
it's
Go ahead.
Okay, so I think Alekia has clearly jotted out very important, yet in a very rational way. I would say,
Yes.
mm,
but I think exams are crap.
Yeah.
You have to take out the examination system, or at least I would tell you one interesting thing. Even Alekia knows this.
mm,
We study about the Bloom's taxonomy, so which is a
mm,
hierarchy of the way how the cognitive hierarchy of a child. So in
yeah.
Bloom's taxonomy, first you have the early stages. I'll just give you a brief to support why I think so. So
Mm,
Bloom's taxonomy, you have the remembering part. That is the first layer, first step. You think it has a hierarchy of steps. So you have remember, like you for the children, like early stages, you will ask just he or she will remember the facts, like when did India get independence, something like that, remembering stage. And then the next stage would be understanding, like fifth, sixth, and okay, what are integers and something like that. So a little understanding. Then the application part, then analysis, synthesis, and then there is a creation part. So
mm,
unfortunately, what's happening is we are evaluating everybody on that remembering part, which is
Mm.
useless totally. So you have evaluate on the either the analyze part, synthesis part, or creative part, and then you take them into your colleges
Right.
or admissions or whatever.
Right.
Then okay, so it's a fair game then, but not
Right.
just on the remembrance part. So it's the flaw in the system basically. It's not
mm,
it's how it is. It's flaw in the system. So there should be some change, to actually get into this. And
Yeah.
also about the reservations part, what Alekia said, I agree with that. The first generation learners should be given most importance, but taking that into consideration as well, the scheduled castes or scheduled tribes or the weaker sections, they are being harassed or not given equal opportunity from the past 200 years actually. So you
mm,
have already taken those 200 years of opportunities from them. So I don't feel it's necessary to take that one opportunity if they are getting it now. So there is,
okay.
see, now if I take a generation of okay, two generations people studying have got through reservations, but there is some 20 generations of their people, the backward thing they doesn't have. And also they also did not get the minimum respect what every human being should get. So compared to that, two generation people getting an opportunity, that's not a equal place, what I feel.
Very, very
Okay.
valid point. Very valid point. We
Yeah.
agree
And
with
I'm
you.
glad that we got some radical points in this because
Yeah.
we need that because otherwise
I
things
mean,
will change with small points here and there, small changes now and
yeah.
then. And I'd just like to mention it's not just a point. I will take that forward as a question also. So we have been living with this in at least at this primary school level and college level is going to be a different ball game. But well, let's come to the primary school level and the secondary school system and all that. So all you have is what? It's like a factory churning out people to write exams, and there's no critical thinking aspect. It's not even connected to what they are doing at home. That's why I think I've noticed a few cases where a child goes home but does not actually find favor with what is being taught. He does not get the same idea in his environment. Let's take a tribal student. He might study English, he might study all the authors of Shakespeare, everything that is school, or he might be asked to read all that. But when he goes back home, there's no connect between what is being taught to him there and what the experience is there in his home, in his hometown, whatever you call it. So you need to have an Indian way of education system, and rather than having it in terms of how you are having it in other countries, where it just if you look at the history of schooling also as you know it today, it has a certain British aspect
Mhm.
to it. There is no it does not have an Indian system there. So you need to have a it's not an Indian system of education. Rather, at the moment, what you have is a British system of education which is continuing since
Yes.
1800, whatever you call it. So we need to change this part, this perspective too, so that it is more accessible at the regional level. You have a lot
Yes.
of differences in regions. Each state has its own fashion, its own
Yes.
history, etc. So if you also you have to have it in terms of connecting students more. Education means it's not just having literacy, English, etc. You need to encourage them to even have it in their local languages and promote them to. Only then you have that connect is easier to, you can bridge people easily, and so we need to. I think we need to develop an Indian system of education which is cutting off or removing the past system, and we can actually restore what we had earlier on, where there was no this discrimination was not there. Rather, you would have a system where everybody would getting a certain amount of basic education, and then they would be left on their own to choose what they would like to do.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
this is one thing, and the second thing is, yeah, in terms of the way education is imparted. We are only able to converse in English, but what if we had a system where we were actually taught everything that we are taught in English in your traditional line, in your let's say Punjabi, Telugu, whatever. We need to give a
Yes.
regional aspect also and improve upon that. That would actually solve this problem of because look at it. If you take the case of China, China did not impose their English education, English system, English standards, etc. Rather, they developed even they taught even science, social, whatever you take it, or history, everything in their own language, and that's how they were able to create a society which is actually understanding that we have to go forward, we have to do something new. This way, this creative aspect was there. So I think this has to be added to it. So what are your thoughts? Can we achieve that? And if we were to achieve it in a certain way, what would be the roadmap we can sort out? And does the national education policy have any of these aspects in it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So shall I go ahead?
Yes, yes, Alekhya, please.
Okay, so yes, the the vision that Pawan has is actually will actually be projected in NEP. We have till the age of I think so the national education policy revamps the idea of the way the classes are segregated. Because since he is talking, though the topic is youth for education for youth, so since he brought up the school education topic, I'm just giving a brief. We had 10+2 system. Now we are going to have 5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4 system. So I think so 5 plus 3 plus 3. So that sorry 5 plus 3, that is the preschool, 3 years, early 3 years preschool, and first and second class combines the 5 years, and then
Yes.
3 years is 3 to 5th sorry third to 5th class. So that part, that means the 8 years of education will be in the regional languages. That is what they have proposed, and they're going to implement that. And I think a better understanding will be there, though there's going to be a nationalized syllabus for them. I think the tweaks, the illustrations, the examples will be taken from their own surroundings. uh, and that's how I think teachers are going to be trained. And coming to the training of teachers, B.Ed course, which earlier was a distance course, uh, was like a 1 year course, then they made a 2 years course. Now it's a serious course, like a proper 4 years course. So it's as serious as an engineering degree. So if anybody wants to get into teaching, so they can directly get into the teaching aspect, teacher education, soon after the class 12. So that's
Correct.
what NEP also offers. So that is primarily done to develop the quality of teaching that we have in the country. So I think these are the things that there are a lot of things. If you want, I can go ahead when it comes to higher education that they are doing. So NEP also has, I've just written down some points. It removed something called as MPhil, Masters of
Yes.
Philosophy, that the I think liberal arts students need to pursue a 1 year course before they take up PhD. That they have scraped out, because I think we have started the culture of having a dissertation or an internship at the in the final semester, so that accounts pretty well for the MPhil part.
Right.
They have scraped it out. And coming to the credits, that now all the evaluation is done in terms of credits. So they introduced something called as national bank for credits, wherein the credit transfer happens for the students. This is especially for students. I'm not sure how that exactly works, but this is how what they have termed in the policy. And then there's National Research Foundation, which will look into the research aspects in the country, uh, at college level, at multiple levels. It's not just the PhD. I think they're going to implement this right from bachelor's. Then the IIMs and IITs are will be turned into multidisciplinary education, and education and research universities. They will not just be technical universities, because we have so many courses within the IIMs and IITs. We have a lot of multidisciplinary education being introduced.
Yes.
So keeping that in mind, they are converted to be multidisciplinary universities. Then we have Higher Education Commission coming up, where the UGC, AICT, NCTE, everything will come under that one particular commission. And then we have something called as National Education Technology Forum, wherein the usage of technology, since we are all are hit by pandemic, the online education has invariably, or by force, or by choice, has come into our lives. But there is going to be a regulatory body, or a regulatory body that will look into the planning, administration, and implementation of technology into education. That's one thing. And there's something called as Parak. So Parak is an assessment board for students that will look into the assessment part of the students. Maybe the way the students are evaluated, the board exams, the public exams might come under that.
Right.
And we also have special fundings, and uh, reservations for gender inclusivity and special education. So special education right now is seen as a separate school, but I think those children will also come into the normal schools, and they will be facilitated. So
Right.
that's in short the NEP.
So that's a great, input for everybody who has been wondering what NEP 2020 is. I mean, half of us could not even understand what it is. This is in
Hmm.
simple terms what it actually means. I think, and I'll just add to Lekhya's point and just add, give a point about competitiveness. I think that is also one thing which has somehow ended up making all the students just worry about marks and, because they want to be globally relevant. That's why they think, it's the image these days is that the one who does not know English, the one who does not know how to communicate well, is probably not globally relevant, which to an extent is also clearly visible. But then this is not right. Okay, I've seen a bunch of people who never pursued education. I mean, I know those people who never pursued any education, but they have been traveling the world and they have been doing a pretty good job. They have been running their businesses worldwide. They have been going out, meeting clients, getting stuff. They have more knowledge about where to get raw material from, where will I get material in the lowest prices, and how can I sell it then at a higher price, or where is the finest quality of particular thing available. I think it's all awareness and observation. Not saying that education is not important for the youth of today, for the children of today. Education is the only way that they can be empowered, but we just need to understand and have a very rational thought about what education is for us. you know don't just blindly go with a definition that's given on Wikipedia, that's been provided to you by your parents or anybody. Could be a little rude, but then that's the reality. That's where you have to draw a line and understand what education is for you, what you want out of it, and what
what will make you successful at the end of the day is not just a degree in your hands. I have it in my hand, but I'm not an engineer doing any engineering job or something. So relax. I mean, relax. It's okay. It's always good to have your own personalized aims, you know. Shravani, your take on this particular point. Uh, the
So,
question I have asked. Yeah.
So, Pavan has actually highlighted a very good point, and also NEP has addressed this point. It has talked about the multilingualism and education in the mother tongue till fifth grade or till eighth grade, wherein, as he said, the Shakespeare, we have Rabindranath Tagore. He is no less than a Shakespeare. So
Yeah, true.
those things can be added in into our culture, knowing our culture. See, what I feel is shooting up to stars is one thing, and having a fertile soil is other thing. So we have to balance this both. Globalization, yes, it's definitely important. That's when higher education has plays a very important role there. That's why, as Alekhya pointed out, this MERUs, multidisciplinary and research universities, etc., they come into play there. But uh, and our fertile soil, like the children of India, are also equally important. They are more important, is what I feel, than the higher education actually. So having a cultural perspective makes a very large
Big
difference. Like,
difference. Yes.
you need not be another American in India to do something for America. You can be an Indian, you can put your cultural aspect, your personality to whatever you do and
Wow.
shine on.
Amazing.
So I think that's
Amazing point.
something.
Pavan, if you allow me, can I add something to this? Yeah. So ever since I was young, I was studying in schools. My school education is precisely from different states in India, right? So while I was pursuing my education from the best schools of the country, right? And people always used to say, the education in South India is, you are so lucky to have education from South India, from education from metropolitan cities, etc. I like to add a point here. The moment I came to Punjab was exactly the first time when I encountered my culture for real. Okay, I encountered my state for real, my people for real, my religion for real, my community for real. Got to know everything all of a sudden, and it took me a little while to adjust into it. But to be honest, it was empowering because that's where I got a real, identity. To be very honest, so I was roaming with a name to which the explanation I never knew, right? Now, the important point that I want to make here is that encounter with my community, like Stravani said, that encounter with my culture, made me realize my worth, gave me the identity that I was seeking for. There was no peace in my heart. Despite having the best education and despite being the best student, one of the, those very good students getting very good marks, the point
Hmm.
was because there was something missing, that element of where I belong and what I want to do. This encounter is really important. If it happens to you earlier, it's even more better because ever since I got this encounter in the last 3 to 4 years, I've been able to analyze what the purpose of my life is. Now, having a purpose is very, very important. And I'm sure everyone's purpose is not just the degrees or certificates that they achieve, it's a part of the purpose. There is always a purpose which you have, which you know that, okay, how I want to lead my life, what do I even want to do after all this education, after everything that I achieve in my life. What impact do I want to create? You understand that impact when you're connected to your roots, right? And you can make a better decision. Now I know that, okay, if I want to be a journalist is a random goal. I want to be a journalist to do what? To serve which community? To bring a change in what aspect of media is something which you will know when you're well versed with your culture and with your community and what's happening around you. So looking at the stars, keeping your eyes at the stars is good, but then keeping your feet in the ground is also very important, right? That encounter, if you get in the childhood days, I think it will be easier for kids to set goals for themselves. They'll know the purpose of their life, which apparently is the whole race is behind finding that purpose, right? The entire this entire span where we are getting education, we are clearing examinations recklessly, filling forms of different universities, trying to get degrees and certificates and whatnot. At the end of the day, it is just to fulfill a purpose, which we unfortunately most of the times don't know. So that purpose, you get that purpose, that identity, and that confidence when you know your culture well, and when your education is aligned with that culture and you know what you want to do out of that education. So now I know I want to serve my state. What are the flaws? What is not there in my state? What can I do to it with my education? How can I add value? And that's what I think the goal of education, and those who are giving, imparting education, those who are receiving education, this is something very important that should be included in the so-called syllabi of our schools. Now, from this, I think Pavan will like to add something here, and after that, we'll ask the question about syllabus. Pavan, syllabus is another, this what do you call it? The trigger word that has triggered me now to talk about it. But then, first, your perspective on the entire
Yeah.
answer.
Pavan, a small point, just one point. So, since we are focusing on youth, what the point that Shravani has raised and what the experiences that Lovepreet has shared will ultimately lead to a space where there is less brain drain in the country. Brain drain meaning, for those who don't know what is brain drain, the people who study here who are very good, but they tend to go to foreign countries and they tend to make their lives over there, and they're basically working for another countries whereas they have studied here. So that is what brain drain means. So that will reduce drastically if cultural aspects are introduced into the
Right.
syllabus effectively. They are there in the syllabus, but are they communicated effectively is what we want. Yeah, Pavan, please go ahead.
Who better can understand this, other than Hyderabadis and Punjabis, from where maximum brain drain happens? These are the two states, two communities from where maximum people, they think that they are going to seek something in some other country, and they don't know what they're trying to seek. Again, there's so much confusion. I would absolutely support people who want to immigrate, have a purpose, are going there to get that purpose done, because they know that purpose cannot be solved here. Great, you're going good. What about those who are going recklessly because everybody is going?
I think that trend is going to reduce in the coming years
I
because,
hope
yeah, it's a hope, of
a
course. But
sustainable way to do that is to improve education here in our country and to communicate, like Alekhya said, to communicate our rituals, our culture properly. Yes, Pavan, your point.
and no, it's just that if you take the experience of Britishers who wrote about Indian education system, for those who do not know in this, there are a lot of such historical accounts available if you go and really uh, Google it up. A lot of them, in fact, even the person who was responsible for introducing the British system of education in India, Lord William Babington Macaulay, he notes that at every level, you take it across the length and breadth of this country, there was a certain qualified education system that was already in place, and that enabled them to connect with their root and then actually only not just work there, but shift from one place to the other within the country's landmass and then go on to do different things. If that was not the case, you would not have people in say in the pre-British era who are actually if you go to the other parts of the country, you will find that there are some South Indians in North who have been settling there for the last 200, 300 years. How did they go there? If not for there was a proper system where people were actually working on different contexts. So if Britishers knew of this and we are not able to actually come to terms with this in today's reality, today's situation, we have to actually it's not just check our brains, but we have to actually realize that we already had such a flourishing system which was effective and was actually, and there are a few British accounts which note that people were able to better keep their accounts and books of accounts better in the traditional system rather than in the British, where assets and liabilities are the only focus and profit, of course. In this system, we also had a separate account where you would keep for charity purposes and all. So this was the development that we had. The fact that we're not actually create, relate to that so often because we have had a 200-year blockage, I would say.
Yeah,
So moving on, I would just so if those who are watching, I would just say that look up history and don't just blindly follow what is going on around you as well. It's not just present situation. You have to relate it to the past and check what is the actual, what are the facts. And so, since we have covered a lot of ground in this, and it's almost an hour now, I think we'll be going to the final segment. So, Lovepreet, over to you.
Yeah. Okay, since we were talking about, syllabus and how on ground we need to do certain things and not just from above, because see, we can expect government and the powerful bodies to do certain things till a certain extent, right? And again, there's us who already have received education, who already have their own experiences, who already are well versed of what's happening on ground to take equal participation in this, right? To talk about it and to participate in it. So, what do you think needs to be done in terms of ground level work, specifically talking about the syllabus? How is the because we see a syllabus is a very important aspect of education, maybe not education, literacy and grades and marks and exams that we give
Academics.
until now, and I hope syllabus becomes an essential part of our life as well eventually. So your take on what can be done in the ground level in terms of syllabus, and what is the best way to go about all of this chaos that's happening if we were to work on ground. And you know it should be something, because education is something which we are saying should be provided equally to all. How to make
Hmm.
education that fits to all, you know
Hmm.
Just a
Okay.
second, one small question. So, if the current education policy is asking for a nationalized syllabus, is it a good thing? Because we have disparities at state level. It's also a state central subject. So, how do we go about it? That's
yeah,
a side follow-up
a
question. Both of
mix
you
of
can
all of
answer.
these you have to answer now.
Yeah. So the thing is, I think nationalized system of education is something that I always look forward to since my school days. So I am for it. Okay, maybe there are some setbacks. Every policy has setbacks. We understand that, but I used to feel that that an equitable education needs to be given to everybody, and that can happen at a ground level uh, by revamping the syllabus and making it nationalized, because we have international board, we have ICSE, we have CBSE, we have state board, and there are topics that are more effectively focused in a certain board, and which are not, and the same topic is not so effectively covered in another particular board. For example, they say, if you take state syllabus and CBSE over here in Hyderabad, they say that maths is given a lot of importance in state syllabus, whereas sciences are given more prominence, or it is well crafted in CBSE. That's what the central talk is. So that needs to go. And coming to the upgradation of, or the concern areas in the syllabus, I think research needs to be included into the syllabus
For
from
sure.
the graduation level. I'm talking only about higher education here. So it's not just about adding one line that the students will have research methodology subject and shoving them with a lot of theoretical information. They should also be given time to practice the theory.
Yes,
That is where they're lacking. I feel they should introduce an hour or a research period in their daily, timetable, where the student, they don't have to do anything. Just go to the library, or go to the ground level, or go to a computer, sit down and do research on whatever topic of interest you have. So that research period needs to be included, and the infrastructure needs to be built for all those colleges who aim to have a research wing in their college. If your college doesn't aspire to have that, well and good. If you have it, then it's good that they develop the infrastructure, proper infrastructure that is needed, which we don't see that much.
very
And
true.
second thing is upgradation of syllabus into a more learner centric approach. They say that the syllabus is learner centric, but what the students actually want. For example, I'm an MA student. I'm studying education, but we have a subject called education technology, but certain topics are skipped away, and we are
Hmm.
still hooking on to MS Excel, Word, which is quite outdated. You can learn about the softwares that are there right now. Like there are so many
Right.
softwares of Abode, and then there are a lot of learning management systems that are coming in. So those things can also be included, taking
Right.
in view of the students, that they those
Mhm.
who are going to study. And third thing is blended learning is the way forward. Now we have been hit by online education, and I think online education completely is not going to work out. So is the traditional way. So there has to be a mix of both, which is called as blended learning, and that needs to be adapted very effectively.
Wow.
That's my take.
Wonderful point. On the point that Alekhya just shared, it was about, sorry, I just zoned out, but she shared something to which I wanted to add something. Now I forgot what that was. What was your second last point? Before what? Yes, I got it. The relevancy of the syllabus. Sorry for that. It's live and I'm literally doing this. But then relevancy of the syllabus. I particularly in my course, which I did before my journalism, which I was currently pursuing just a few months ago. There's no shame, I think, in accepting that we are studying the syllabus and the books that have been studied by, I don't know, batches from how many decades before. And I mean, it's important to learn traditional things, history, how we have evolved, from a certain point till date. But then again, making syllabus relevant means making the student relevant to the current industry, which means that we have to include the things that are happening right now. You are preparing teachers to just teach in a classroom environment, which was legit before the pandemic. Now those teachers are finding it hard, and it's not it's not their fault, because they've never dealt with technology as such. Even students are struggling on that note. So I feel the new teachers, the modern teachers who are studying, pursuing MA or B.Ed right now, they should be taught, they should be trained to handle both the situations really well. So you have to include something called virtual learning, virtual teaching in their syllabus as well. It's all about making changes to make students and education providers both relevant according to the times, and that's very important. What is the point me studying processors and controllers from I don't know how many decades ago, which have no relevance in the market now? And what about the processor which actually is being used in the market right now? I have no clue about that. As an engineering student, if I don't know when I'm going to buy a laptop, what to check in, what features to see, and then how to get it, on what price to get it, it's useless. My degree is useless, right? So that's how we really need to impart this sense of the world in the kids, in the students, along with the theory that's required. And research is a very very essential way in which that can be done, because when you're researching, you are well versed with what happened in the past, what is happening right now, what might happen in the future. You get an idea of the entire timeline, and that in a way puts that quality inside you, that you are relevant for the industry, for the world, in all time zones. You are relevant now, and you will adapt eventually to become relevant in the future. So this idea of adaptability and making the youth relevant is very important. Stravani, your take on this question?
So, I feel whatever you said are obviously the very legit points, I would say. But you have all pointed out the positives or the blended teaching or whatever in your opinion. But I feel the major problem you had was times are changing and the syllabus is still the same. But you also have to understand that times are changing very rapidly. So it's not always a good idea to change syllabus also that rapidly. So it's not a practical solution to change the syllabus every year, because
Mhm.
we are in 2021 and this is a global era.
Mhm.
There is new stuff every other day. So you can't keep updating your books with that. So
Of
what
course.
I feel the more practical solution in my opinion is to teach the student or the learner how to learn anything. How can you update yourself? It's not
Yes.
I will teach this, I will teach that, that government is doing this, syllabus is doing this, because this problem will in the coming years, what I see is it's just will increase.
Right.
Okay, now we are in blended learning, and I am sure in the next 5 years, the teaching would be through gamification or cloud technology or
Yeah.
artificial intelligence. Now I cannot sit down and make my teachers to learn all of that. So
Yeah.
that's not a practical solution, at least in India, I feel. So it's wise if we use our resources and efforts and time to make the child able to learn anything on themselves and become them, make them self independent, then
Wonderful.
there would be some change. So it's not only about the syllabus or the teachers, or these are all great, we can actually do that, but by the time they are capable of doing this, something new will come. So here the efforts, resources, time, everything is just gone. So I
Very legit.
think this would be more
Very,
practical than that.
Very legit point. And
very
I think
nice point. Even I like
very
it. It's like,
rational, very rational point, and a very nice face off. I really love the fact that this discussion is very self-driven sort of. You don't have to push somebody to give a solution, but then they're voicing out their opinions, and we are able to in fact correct each other. And I think,
mm,
Stravni, that was a very sensible idea, because we have been saying from the start, like, kids have to at the end learn skills by themselves. We are doing that. In fact, don't even talk about kids, we ourselves are doing that. I have been personally learning programming languages on my own by the end of my degree, when I realized that,
Yeah,
through
because
sitting
the
in the placement
learning
time, I have to learn.
the
Yeah.
learning style has been changed, so we
Yes.
should also not stick to that learning style. Now
learning
Yes.
if
style,
somebody
yes.
asks me something, I should just direct them, I should guide them. It's just,
Right.
see, because we have been telling this child centric, even in the 1986 national policy also they have told it's child centric, let's put the
Child.
blackboard things has coming up. Now they cannot put VR thing, virtual the reality is coming in, and it's still child centric. No, it's the approach what should be the child centric, not just
Right.
that. And also the
Wow.
major thing, it's everything is okay, we are all discussing this, but the budget, they are only offering 6% of the budget
Very true.
through from the GDP. And in the 1986 NEP also it's the same 6%. Now
Mm.
what is this?
I'll
There
just
is
add
a
on to
huge
this.
gap.
It's not just
True.
6% in 1986, but this 6% was a recommendation made all the way back in 1966. So
My
1966 as
goodness.
well.
Oh
So
my
where is
god.
2020 and 1966?
so
It,
without money, these are just talks.
yep, yep.
Very
And
true.
That is true.
Very true.
That is
Very
again, I think that is again one of the reasons why we lack quality teachers in education, because institution ultimately picks up whosoever is uh, desperately in need of a job, and who's not so well versed with the degrees or the
right.
knowledge that they
Right.
want, they tend to take up. And
Right.
in order to just generate admissions, I think they generate admissions, they get fees, then they pay off at a substandard way to the employees, and that's how the circle of a
Cycle goes
system
on.
in an
Hmm.
education is going on. That needs to change. I think
Yeah.
Shravani has given nice points.
In fact, Alekhya, adding to that, I think the whole attitude regarding this profession, teaching, is also very
Hmm.
vague. You know what? When you ask people, they're like, okay, kuch nahi in North India, kuch nahi banega to teacher to bani jayega. You can take tuitions, you can get into a school and become a teacher. You're very good in orientation. I'm like, do you think teaching is such a vague job to do? I mean, you're shaping the future of kids. When Alekhya said that now B.Ed is a serious course and it's a 4 years course, I was so
Hmm.
happy. I'm feeling relieved that the people who are teaching us, they have
Hmm.
themselves undergone a serious education. Thank you, because these are the ones who are shaping the future of so many kids. They are, at least they are responsible for directing kids in the right direction. And when they themselves are not aware, or they themselves have not been through a vigorous, process of education, and they have not researched well, then what is the point? I think the whole attitude about education and teaching is very vague, and people take it like something which is there, always there. This option is always there. That also has to be changed. That attitude has to be changed. So thanks, Ravni, for picking up that point. I think we have got a lot of other points to add from what Ravni has said, and it's a very, very legitimate argument that she passed, very practical argument, in fact.
Yeah.
and since like we've covered this, I mean this episode has been quite engaging, and it's not just one aspect that we have covered. I think we've covered at least 10 aspects in this episode in the course of this last 1 hour or so. And we can wrap it up. I mean, you can just share your final talk, or I mean, point on what is your vision of India's education 2050, let's say, if not 2030, let's keep it at 2050. So you can just, what is your, how would you expect it to be, apart from just being equally, available for everybody and all? What would be the addition you would make? And with your points, I think we'll wrap up this episode.
Yes.
Okay, so one addition I feel that there's missing in even in the policy. I'm not sure whether that is included in the policy or not. I'm not that well aware, but I think there are a lot of private entities that are known as coaching institutes, which are a part of the education sector, which are going absolutely unchecked for the infrastructure that they provide, for the kind of fees that they take. So I feel there should be a federal regulatory system for that, which works at the union and the state level, which controls and accounts all these coaching institutes, whether it is for engineering or for exams like IELTS or SAT, for exams like UPSC, GATE. All these institutes, they're very established ones, but I think there should be a cap on the fees that they take in. That's one addition I'd love to see. If that is also taken into, it should have a check with the government in a PP, private public partnership sort of a way. That would be great. And coming to the vision of 2050, is I'm stealing Shravani's point, saying that I think if every child, every individual, whether it is an adult, a learner, basically, should have should be able to inculcate a learning style for themselves. If we can recognize that and make them realize and make them implement that in a good way, then it will be a very glorious India that we can see. That the development of the learning style for themselves is very important. If that is there, if the zeal of a learner to exist and learn throughout their lives, because I started with the quote that education is life itself, so I'm going back to there. So adapting a learning style and following that throughout their life will do a good purpose.
Just by understanding and implementing the true meaning of the word student all your
Yeah.
life is enough for education to be good in India. Great, great. Stravani, now whose point are you stealing? Or are you creating a new one?
I can come up with many. I have so many in my armor.
Yes, please.
Nice.
Please shoot us with them.
So, Vision 2050, I feel technology is gonna play a
Take-
huge role in all our lives, and being tech ready is important, is what I feel. And see, again, with a cultural aspect, not globalization, as I said, is very, very important, because through STEM education and things like that, it has opened a very big doorway for everybody throughout the globe. And we have to actually use this opportunity, because when there is no internet in 1980s or 1970s or 1960s, there is no such opportunity. So it would be really wise if we use such opportunities to make our stand, like our national stand, in the global market. So I feel technology would do that, but again, emphasizing on the cultural aspect, I would stick on to that, because as I said, gamification. Uh, like for a child who's learning some physics friction or something, Super Mario can teach him that in the coming days or years, is what I feel. 2050, Super Mario can be your teacher. Likewise, for me, uh, we have Akbar Birbal. Birbal can be my teacher now. So adding that culture and again technology, that sweet spot is what I think emphasizes learning for the coming future.
Wonderful.
Nice.
And
Wonderful.
that's it, yours.
Oh, I'll steal both of their points. I mean, yes, the best way to conclude this would be, if we need to, there has to be a change in the approach of teaching, like Sravani said, making a teaching not for making students dependent on teachers or on technology, but teaching to make students independent enough to decide for themselves. And even if, in the middle of the pond, they see that they get stuck in the middle of the ocean, they should have the guts to swim and reach the end. I mean, they should have that ability, those guts, and for that, you need to train them in a certain way. You need to make them more skill oriented, more self driven. That spark has to be there, not just studying for the sake of studying, not just teaching for the sake of teaching, but having that spark within you where you really want to know more. You have this you have a quest to know more, learn more, and teachers have this desire to direct their students in the right proper manner, right? And yes,
So,
understanding your goals and passions, having passions and being able to identify if these passions are practically possible or not is another very important thing, because of which I personally see a lot of youth confused and feeling helpless, because somehow they just confused all of it and they created some dahi chawal in their head, right? So you need to get out of this and practically see your passions, practically see what you can do, how you can implement it. So I think that
I
and
that
want to add something to what Lovepreet has said. You
firstly,
said about the spark and things like that. So there is this study where you have given some 200 points, like some random useless 200 points you have given, and for every wrong answer you made on the quiz or something, you will lose 5 points. And then
oh,
for 50% people, that is the game, and for the rest of the 50% people, you are not going to lose anything. Okay,
mm,
so there is a quest after you finish that. So what happens is there is some 52% people have tried 12 times more for the in this set where there is no negative points, like where the points are not taken from you. So if you can correlate that with what you have said, the spark, when you take out this success failure business out of this,
very true,
everybody will try and everybody will flourish.
very
and
true.
that's my ending would be just this. Whether it's 2050 or 2030 or whatever, at every point, education should enable students to sort of be risk taking and rather not risk averse. They should love
Yes,
taking risk, and that is one thing that education is the only way to do that. It's not just some film or
very
anything,
true.
but it's only through college and school levels and at various levels. And
Yes,
that would be one addition I would love to see in particular.
yes.
And with that, Lovepreet, can you end it?
Yeah, classes and all, I think shouldn't be a burden anymore. Yeah, enough of that. Enough of we are tired. We feel sad. It's a sad situation that even in the course that you absolutely love, classes are such a, oh God, and this shouldn't be happening. This shouldn't be happening. I really aspire to see kids and young people like us someday being very excited for classes for some reason. Or maybe they don't even need classes, they are self driven enough to get things done by themselves. That generation where there is enough motivation and not suicides happening because marks are not coming. That shouldn't happen. That really should not happen. With this, I think it was a very, I mean, it was a first trial, guys. It's the first time we are going live with our guests and the first episode of the youth week that we planned out. It is wonderful. I did not anticipate this to be this energetic, this happening. And I think we have got some amazing points out of this particular episode. I hope all of you were able to relate at some point or the other. And Alekhya, Sravani, we are very grateful. Thanks for joining us. Thank you for taking out your time. Thanks for believing in us. This is something very new for us. And we were not sure how this will go, but you guys trusted us and you came in, you hopped in, you gave in your ideas. And I must say, salute to both of you for the kind of knowledge and the kind of understanding you guys have. It's very important. I would love to see youth becoming like you guys, aware and conscious of their surroundings, having opinions to share and being strong enough to put those opinions out. I really aspire that all of us learn from both of you and get this quality, this bravery that you have in us. Thank you for joining. For all those who have been listening to us or who will listen to us later, thank you so much for tuning in. We hope that you got at least something to think about, to consider, and maybe if you're planning to become a teacher or you're going to, or anyway, you're going to remain a student throughout your life, we hope that you can take over, think about these points, and maybe add value to your student life, your teaching life, or whatever you're pursuing in life in general. We hope to see you tomorrow now. Tomorrow, again, there's going to be a live. It's going to be in sequence. So today we talked about education. So obviously tomorrow we'll talk about employment, and then day after we'll talk about, while doing all of this, when we skip on our meals and when we say it's okay, I won't have dinner, I have to do this assignment. How worth is that? We'll discuss how nutrition and food is important for youth also, and so on and so forth. We have some exciting episodes and exciting guests coming up. Stay tuned with us. Subscribe to our channel, share this video with people who are taking a lot of stress about education, and then probably try to spread some smiles here and there. Thank you so much, guys. We'll catch up tomorrow with you all. Have a nice day and enjoy.